Hello and welcome live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Gautam Roy, and coming up in the next 60 minutes. Counting of votes underway in 4 Indian states. Trends show the BJP is leading in Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh. 3 people have been killed and several others injured as an explosion has rocked a Catholic mass in the southern Philippines region this morning. And the US and China have announced measures to address methane emissions at COP28 in Dubai. Over 110 nations pledged to triple renewable energy capacity by 2030. Also, over 700 flights have been cancelled, buses and train services suspended in Germany's Munich due to heavy snow. And first up, the verdict of the people is now being revealed in the 4 Indian states where elections had been held. One, of course, the count is going to happen tomorrow. Let's bring you up to speed with the latest trends and results. Well, counting of votes has been underway for assembly elections in Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan and Telangana since 8 in the morning Indian Standard Time. The polling in these states was held on different dates along November, and Mizoram is included, but not counting today. Early trends show the BJP is leading in 3 Indian states, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh. In Chhattisgarh, voting was held in 2 phases on the 7th as well as the 17th of last month. In Madhya Pradesh, the polling was held on the 17th. Rajasthan voted on the 25th of November again, and in Telangana, the voting took place on the 30th of last month. India's Railway Minister Ashwini Vaishnav has said that people of Madhya Pradesh have blessed the Bharatiya Janata Party with a resounding mandate as a result of good work done in the past 18 years.
भारतीय जनता पार्टी की बहुत ही प्रचंड विजय हुई है। इसकी हमें पूरी उम्मीद थी, पूरा विश्वास था कि मध्य प्रदेश के जन जन के मन में भारतीय जनता पार्टी के प्रति जो विश्वास है, वो विश्वास आज के चुनावों में परिलक्षित होता है। आप सब जानते हैं, एमपी के मन में मोदी है, मोदी के मन में एमपी है। जिस तरह से प्रदेश में सरकार चली, 18 वर्षों में अच्छा काम हुआ, जितना अच्छा काम माननीय शिवराज जी ने किया, जितना अच्छा काम डबल इंजन की सरकार ने किया, जितना अच्छा काम संगठन ने किया, उसका आशीर्वाद आज मध्य प्रदेश की जनता ने दिया।
And as BJP leads in Madhya Pradesh, India's Union Minister and party leader Jyotiraditya Scindia is confident that the BJP will form the government with absolute majority in Madhya Pradesh.
हमारी डबल इंजन की सरकार प्रधानमंत्री जी के नेतृत्व में मध्य प्रदेश में शिवराज सिंह जी के नेतृत्व में जो जन कल्याण की योजनाएं हैं, जो गरीब उत्थान की योजना है, सेवा और सुशासन की जो हमारी सरकार है, जनता का पूर्ण आशीर्वाद भारतीय जनता पार्टी के साथ रहेगा। मुझे पूर्ण विश्वास है कि जनता का आशीर्वाद भारतीय जनता पार्टी के साथ रहेगा और समूचे मध्य प्रदेश की जनता को मैं नमन करता हूं और अभी रुझान आ रहे हैं, अंतिम नतीजे तक हम लोग इंतजार करें।
And incumbent Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan has said a double-engine government properly implemented the schemes of the central government, and the schemes that were formed in Madhya Pradesh as well also touched the people's hearts.
हमारे प्रधानमंत्री श्रीमान नरेंद्र मोदी जी एमपी के मन में हैं और मोदी जी के मन में भी एमपी है। उनके प्रति असीम श्रद्धा और अगाध विश्वास है। उन्होंने जो यहाँ सभाएं की, जनता से अपील की, वो जनता के दिल को छू गई और उसी के कारण ये परिणाम जो अभी रुझान आ रहे हैं, ये प्रमुख कारण है।
Also, Madhya Pradesh State Home Minister and BJP candidate from Datia, Narottam Mishra, has said the BJP is going to win in the state.
125 से 150 सीटें भारतीय जनता पार्टी जीतेगी और अकेला मध्य प्रदेश नहीं, राजस्थान भी, छत्तीसगढ़ भी भारतीय जनता पार्टी माननीय मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में सरकार बनाएगी। बिल्कुल मैंने पहले ही कहा था, 2/3 बहुमत की तरफ हम जाएंगे। आप देख लें, आ रहे हैं।
And Madhya Pradesh State BJP President V.D. Sharma said he believes that the BJP will win the most seats till this date and create history. The development will be under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi.
मैं ऐसा मानता हूं कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी अभी तक की सर्वाधिक सीटें जीत करके मध्य प्रदेश के अंदर इतिहास बनाएगी। माननीय प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में मध्य प्रदेश के मन में मोदी का जो अभियान था उसको जनता ने आशीर्वाद दिया है। ये सारी ताकत जो भारतीय जनता पार्टी की थी और संगठन की ताकत प्रत्येक बूथ पर मजबूती के साथ जो भारतीय जनता पार्टी मैदान में उतरी, आज मैं कहता हूं कि इस आधार पर ऐतिहासिक बहुमत की सरकार भारतीय जनता पार्टी की बनेगी।
And former Chhattisgarh Chief Minister Raman Singh has said people have rejected the Congress's government and the BJP will form the government in the state with full majority.
इसमें भारतीय जनता पार्टी आगे है राजस्थान में और तीनों जगह स्पष्ट बहुमत के साथ सरकार बनेगी और निश्चित रूप से आज के तारीख में बड़ी बड़ी बात करने वाले, ठीक है, नतीजा क्या निकलेगा, पर भूपेश जी का नतीजा दिख रहा है कि 2 राउंड में पीछे चल रहे हैं। इसका मतलब ये है कि जनता ने उनके सारे मंत्रियों को नकारा है, पूरी सरकार को रिजेक्ट किया है और भारतीय जनता पार्टी को पूरा का पूरा आशीर्वाद और समर्थन दिया।
Let's also listen to what Chhattisgarh BJP President Arun Sahu has had to say about how the people have given their blessings to the BJP.
छत्तीसगढ़ की जनता भारतीय जनता पार्टी को आशीर्वाद देने वाली है। जिस प्रकार से पूरे प्रदेश में भ्रमण करने के बाद जो हमें विश्वास हुआ, उसके आधार पर मैं कह सकता हूं कि छत्तीसगढ़ में पूर्ण बहुमत से भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार बनने वाली है।
And BJP's Shazia Elmi said her party is very confident that the party will form the government in at least 3 states.
पूरा यकीन है कि 3 राज्यों में हमारी सरकार बन रही है और हम बहुत ही अच्छी बढ़त देखेंगे। एक बड़े फोर्स के तौर पर तेलंगाना में भारतीय जनता पार्टी उभरेगी, लेकिन जहां तक बात है राजस्थान की, मध्य प्रदेश की और छत्तीसगढ़ की, हमें लगता है हमारा प्रदर्शन बहुत ही शानदार रहेगा और बहुत ही अच्छी और स्पष्ट जीत भारतीय जनता पार्टी की होगी। कमल ही खिलेगा वहां पे इन तीनों राज्यों में।
Now let's talk about Rajasthan, where early trends are showing that the BJP is leading there as well. State BJP President C.P. Joshi said that their lead will keep growing.
भारतीय जनता पार्टी और देश के यशस्वी लोकप्रिय नेता आदरणीय नरेंद्र मोदी जी में अटूट आस्था प्रकट की है, विश्वास व्यक्त किया है और यही परिणाम दिख रहा है कि कई दिनों से हजारों कार्यकर्ता रात दिन पार्टी को विजयश्री दिलाने के लिए काम कर रहे थे। इस जीत का आधार वही है और मैं सोचता हूं अभी शुरुआती बढ़त है, ये बढ़त और बढ़ती जाएगी।
Let's now get you some views and analysis on these results, that rather trends so far. KV Prasad, senior journalist, is with us here in the studio. Good afternoon to you, KV. What do you make of the trends that we're seeing in these 4 states for the moment? The BJP now ahead in 3 and the Congress in 1.
Well, I think the first big message is the people who doubted Bharatiya Janata Party, especially after having reverses in Himachal and Karnataka, the change of strategy that it adopted when it came to these 3 states, which are Hindi-speaking states, are very. So I think that strategy seems to be playing out on the ground and actually giving them results. Remember, they changed faces. They also brought back some of the senior leaders, asked them to come back to contest in the assembly. So that initially gave an indication that things were not all right. But if you look at it, that plus the fact they also brought new faces without projecting a chief minister candidate, once again a strategy which was people were doubting. I think all this looks like whatever we've been talking about, the big, great election machine that the BJP has in place is absolutely well-oiled and it works to perfection to the extent it has done. So
and it also seems that anti-incumbency has worked in the case of 3 states and in 1 it hasn't.
Well, that's a question that we'll have to actually see and analyze when we have the full results, because we also see the trends, voting percentage. But what you look at Madhya Pradesh, it's a huge, I mean, almost 8 percentage points is what we heard, which reflects that BJP has been able to defeat anti-incumbency, a factor that 3 months ago people were talking was different. 3 months ago, people almost gave the victory to that the Shivraj Singh Chauhan government is on the back
Right now
foot.
in Madhya Pradesh, the percentage difference in the polling is between BJP and Congress. The top two is a little less than 5%.
Yeah, but that's a huge component in the sense.
Yeah, in terms of seats, it's massive.
It's massive, and that's reflecting. If you look at the trends, that's reflected. I think here we'll have to wait and watch. A lot of things.
So that was in the case of Chhattisgarh. Madhya Pradesh, let me give you the data first because I got that wrong, and I'm checking on the ECI website. That's BJP is 48.57%, and the Congress is 40.34%. So there's
that's what 8 percentage points is what I was referring to at this point of time, which is again a very huge margin. And even Chhattisgarh, 5 percentage points is a huge margin when it converts into seats.
Yes.
Because we've seen a 1%, 2% vote swing.
And at this stage, if there's a gap of 5% in the case of Chhattisgarh, where it seems that the situation is flipped as the counting has proceeded, do you think it's fairly late in the day that this 5% gap will not be bridged?
Look, see, even if, how much can you bridge? I mean, it's because the advantage is all boxes have been opened, or rather all electronic voting machines have been taken up across the board. So it's like a constant scheme. 5 percentage points is a huge margin. 8% is probably unbridgeable. Let's take it that way. I mean, whatever you might do, it's very difficult.
Again, if we talk percentage points, in Rajasthan, it's a little tricky because the BJP is at 42% and the Congress at 39%. But in terms of seats, the difference is fairly huge right now in terms of the trends. 112 for the BJP and 71 for the Congress. I'm looking at the Election Commission website right now, not our own data, which is slightly different.
Yeah. No, that's fine. The point is, we've seen, as I said in the past, you notice a percentage point in the drop or increase in the points makes a difference in seats. And that could be a multiple factor, not necessarily really converting, because except, I mean, if you take away Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, where essentially the contest was between the Bharatiya Janata Party and the Congress. I mean, there were other parties at play, but they were not so strong. I mean, there could be, in terms of certain points.
In fact, in all these states, the others seem to be falling to the wayside a bit, except for Telangana, I guess, because there's the AIMIM.
But that's largely in Hyderabad, greater Hyderabad region, where they have been, traditionally, they have the seats in that particular region, and they have been always doing well in that part of the constituencies. But we'll come to Telangana in a different fashion. If you approach Telangana, I think the BJP, again, if you look at it, number of seats, they seem to have gone from 1 to 8 or something.
Yes.
So they're leading in about 7. So
right now on the Election Commission website, 8.
8, okay. So what we look at is the fact, probably BJP's vote share would also have risen in that. But if you look at 1 year ago, the Bharatiya Janata Party was supposed to be winning the election. And the kind of narrative that was coming out, the kind of BJP was a very strong challenger to the Bharatiya Rashtra Samiti, BRS, which earlier in the TRS thing. But somehow things flipped, and suddenly Congress took a lunge. The Congress lunged forward, and today they're knocking at the door of victory. So that's something which is remarkable for a party.
But I think BJP's vote share has also gone up there in Telangana, 13.71% right now.
I said vote share would have increased, and that's a pretty good idea. Pretty good idea for them.
Yeah. Let me now bring in my colleague, Dibyendu Mondal, who's joining us from Delhi. He was there at the BJP headquarters earlier. He's still there. I can see him. Looks a little quiet behind you. I thought there would be laddus out by now and firecrackers and everything.
But I think we'll have to shift from here to the BJP party office annexee, where it is being said that the Prime Minister could arrive, and maybe the celebrations are shifting to a more newer complex of the BJP, which is just across the road. As soon as we are done with this broadcast, we'll shift there. But of course, leaders have also started to come in here since the last 1 hour. We have seen senior leaders of the BJP coming here. People are celebrating, in fact, are in the mood of celebration, as the BJP is going to form government in 3 states. And it is pretty clear by now that even in Chhattisgarh, I was speaking to a couple of BJP leaders, and they are also taken by surprise with the result from Chhattisgarh, because they were not expecting, perhaps to be honest, that they would be winning Chhattisgarh. But having said this, the BJP's favorable result even in Chhattisgarh is something that the party is looking forward to celebrate. Of course, Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan was something that the BJP was looking forward to forming government in these two states. And remember, in Madhya Pradesh, the BJP have been in power for the longest time now, and Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan has been except for a brief period of about 1.5 years, he has been in power in the state for nearly now the 4th term. So that's a long time for a party to be in power in a particular state. But having said this, here at the BJP headquarters, people are slowly starting to come in, and the celebration would begin anytime soon now. We have been speaking to the BJP leaders from Delhi, and they have been saying that they are in fact very excited, and they have also said that this is perhaps a prelude to the 2024 general election, which is just about 6 months away from now. And it is very crucial for the BJP to win, two major states like that of Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. And they are very confident now that the BJP could cross once again the 300 mark in the Lok Sabha election, which is slated for next year, early next year.
All right. The way to just stay with us because we're also joined now by DD India's Vishal Biristow from Jaipur. That's the state capital of Rajasthan. Vishal, is it now certain? Is the BJP thinking it's certain? Are they celebrating that they are through? They have replaced the Congress this time around through that revolving door that Rajasthan seems to have to wrest the state from this party.
Well, Gautam, there is too much of noise here. As you can hear, the music is very loud, the drums are going on, and people are dancing and singing. So I could not hear your full question, but I can sense that you are asking that the BJP has surprised rather Congress, because Congress was appearing to be quite confident, and Ashok Gehlot was looking to form the government once again and change the convention. But the infighting within the Congress party, the poor organization set up within the Congress party, and also the Gehlot versus Sachin Pilot factor, and Gujars staying away from the Congress party. There were multiple factors. In fact, if we talk about the issues that were raised by the BJP in Rajasthan, like law and order or the red diary issue, did not hurt the Congress that much. But it was the poor organization or weak organization, and also the infighting between Gehlot and Chief Minister, because Gehlot's poster were everywhere across the state with his 7 guarantees on which he was appearing to sail through, and he was claiming that he was the choice of Sonia Gandhi. Even though the campaign was on, Ashok Gehlot never gave up the hope of becoming the Chief Minister and never allowed any space to Sachin Pilot. But that is where the BJP scored, and even Prime Minister time and again during his campaign in Rajasthan said for 4 years the two top leaders of the state were busy fighting, and the Chief Minister was all the time busy trying to save his own chair, and it was only in the 5th year that they have come out with a whole lot of freebies. So, and I think that has costed Congress very badly. It was expected to be a close fight, but now you see that BJP is far ahead. In fact, according to the figures that are available with us, in fact, the Election Commission has also declared that according to the numbers coming, BJP has sailed through. Gautam?
Yes, certainly. I'll come back to you with more questions, Vishal. Just stay with us. Let me also bring in quickly Ravi Dhibad, my colleague, joining us from Raipur, the state capital of Chhattisgarh. Ravi, Chhattisgarh too now seems to be headed the BJP's way. If you look at what the Election Commission's website is showing right now, there's a gap of 20 seats in terms of the trends, and even the vote percentage is, the difference between the two parties is widening. It's more than 3.5% now.
Yeah, exactly, Gautam. I think the tables have turned, and they have turned dramatically in the past 1 hour or so. The Congress was leading in many seats in the initial 1 hour of counting, but now it seems that the BJP is having a clear edge, even though we are in the BJP headquarters here in Chhattisgarh, in Raipur, but the celebrations have not yet begun. As we can see the celebratory scenes in Jaipur and Bhopal, maybe the leaders here are cautious and waiting for the trends to go beyond any scope of a return by the Congress or their candidates. And ever since the margins and the vote percentage is increasing, and the air is palpable here with excitement, the BJP leaders have just a few minutes back, the BJP leaders were out here in the courtyard giving interviews to the media persons, and they are now certain that they are going to form the next government here in Chhattisgarh. So it's a clean sweep as far as the central India is concerned. It seems so with the trends coming in, but for the clear results we'll still have to wait. But the leaders here in Raipur are quite sure and confident that they will be able to maintain this lead through the day and romp home and form the next government here in Chhattisgarh.
Okay. KV Prasad, if I could ask you, in terms of how the counting is proceeding, if you look at again the details that you're getting on the ECI website, rounds, even halfway in most of the seats, it's not, none of the seats in fact in Chhattisgarh, halfway mark, if halfway round in terms of rounds have been completed. So is there still scope for Congress to hope?
Well, till the last vote is counted, every party or every candidate continuing to have hope. That's having been said. But theoretically, look at Madhya Pradesh is far ahead for the BJP. The Congress will have to do a lot of catching up in the remaining rounds, as would call. Look, going by the trends, as I said, all the EVMs have been opened. Votes are starting. They start giving your results. So this trends more or less indicates forming up of a particular pattern, right? Probably the only place where I think also reflected by your colleague Ravi, Raipur, where they are cautious because the percentage points is lesser and there is a possibility that it might flip. So I think that caution is exercised by both ends of the contestants. To that extent, that's the only place where there is a little bit of what you call an if factor, what if. But otherwise, Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan seem to be in a different track altogether.
All right. Even while you were speaking, the gap has widened in the case of Chhattisgarh. Now it's a gap of 22 seats. So that's the kind of
I'm also looking in terms of the percentage points that we were looking at earlier. So if the word percentage points are lesser, it was 3% at that point of time. If that goes up, then
that is going up.
That's going up. So it's going to make a difference.
All right. On that note, we'll take a quick break, and after that, we'll get to details related to some other updates that have been coming from around the world.
Informed investor, empowered investor, smart investor.
यार वो मेरे बचपन का दोस्त है, वो क्यों मुझसे झूठ कहने लगा? वो कह रहा था इस स्कीम में पैसा लगाने पर 6 महीने में 10 के 20,000 हो जाएंगे।
और तूने मान लिया?
ऐसा ऑफर कौन छोड़ता है? 10,000 के 20,000?
एक काम कर, ये ले 100 रुपए, पकड़ना और जाके 10 किलो लड्डू लेके आ।
अबे पागल है क्या? 100 रुपए में 10 किलो लड्डू आते हैं? अबे इसके तो 1 किलो लड्डू भी नहीं आएंगे।
जब इतना जानता है तो ये नहीं जानता कि 6 महीने में 10,000 के 20,000 नहीं होते। समझदारी बढ़ा, लालच नहीं।
लालच में ना आए, समझदारी बढ़ाएं। IEPF अथॉरिटी द्वारा जनहित में जारी।
This program is sponsored by IEPFA, Informed Investor, Empowered Investor, Smart Investor. Turning crisis into opportunity, transforming ideas into action, stories of real change, tales of sustainable solution. This series is going to tell stories of such change makers. Watch Change Makers on DD India.
We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts, we demystify political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's
And before we go any further, here's another look at our top.
New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times.
This program is sponsored by IEPFA, Informed Investor, Empowered Investor, Smart Investor.
Welcome back. You're watching the latest here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and before we go any further, another look at our top stories. Counting of votes is underway in 4 Indian states. Trends show the BJP is leading in Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh. 3 people killed and several others injured as an explosion rocks a Catholic mass in the southern Philippines region this morning. And over 700 flights cancelled, buses and train services suspended in Germany's Munich due to heavy snowfall. All right, now governments have launched new initiatives to bolster clean energy and to wean themselves off fossil fuels at the UN Climate Summit in Dubai, where countries are grappling with how to halt the non-stop rise in planet warming emissions. In one of the most widely supported initiatives, 118 governments pledged to triple the world's renewable energy capacity by 2030 at the UN's COP28 Climate Summit ongoing in Dubai on Saturday as a route to cut the share of fossil fuels in the world's energy production. The pledge was among a slew of COP28 announcements on Saturday aimed at decarbonizing the energy sector, a source of around 3/4 of global greenhouse gas emissions that included expanding nuclear power, cutting methane emissions and choking off private finance for coal power. Now, an earthquake of at least magnitude 7.4 struck Mindanao in southern Philippines late on Saturday. Scores of residents fled their homes in Davao City after the powerful earthquake struck, triggering evacuation orders for some areas of the country and for southwest Japanese coasts. Hours after the quake, the U.S. Tsunami Warning System, which had issued a tsunami warning in the wake of the earthquake, said there was no longer a tsunami threat. The Philippines Seismology Agency said the waves could hit the Philippines coast by midnight and continue for hours, though there were no initial reports of significant wave damage by that time. Israelis rallied in Tel Aviv on Saturday night, calling for the immediate release of the remaining captives in Gaza. The 7-day truce, during which Hamas had released more than 100 hostages, collapsed on Friday, halting any further hostage releases in exchange for Palestinian prisoners held in Israeli jails. Israel's Prime Minister's senior advisor Mark Regev said Israel will seek a security envelope with special zones and arrangements that will prevent the Hamas from being positioned on its border after the war in Gaza is over. More than 240 people, Israelis and foreign nationals, were abducted from to Gaza, in fact, on the 7th of October by Hamas terrorists. Residents of Tel Aviv demanded for their loved ones to be freed.
I would love for there to be a truce, but I'd love to see a 10-month-old home. I'd love to see his brother, a toddler, home. I'd love to see young women not used as sexual objects home. And then we can discuss a truce, because when you're actually letting terrorists go in payment for these people, then if it's soldier for soldier, I get that. That's called a truce. This to me isn't a truce. A truce for me is an equal exchange. Babies, toddlers, and older women and men are not. And just everything that's been heard about the sexual abuse is just crazy. So there's a part of me that wants a truce, but I want these people home first, and then we can discuss a truce.
And Israel is facing growing U.S. calls to avoid casualties in its fight against the Hamas in Gaza. Speaking in Dubai, U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris said that Israel had a right to defend itself, but international and humanitarian law must be respected. While U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin deemed it a moral responsibility for Israel to protect civilians. Senior U.S. officials' remarks on Saturday reinforced pressure from Washington for Israel to use more caution as it shifts the focus of its military offensive further south in the Gaza Strip.
Gravity is the civilian population. And if you drive them into the arms of the enemy, you replace a tactical victory with a strategic defeat. So I have repeatedly made clear to Israel's leaders that protecting Palestinian civilians in Gaza is both a moral responsibility and a strategic imperative.
And Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu responded to U.S. comments on Saturday, saying that Israel was continuing to work in coordination with the U.S. and international organizations to define safe areas for Gaza civilians.
We determine safe areas in Gaza in coordination with international agencies and with our American friends. We determine safe areas to where the population knows it can evacuate. We did it in the north and we will do it elsewhere, and this is important because we have no desire to harm the population. We have a desire to avoid harming the population. We have a very strong desire to hurt Hamas.
And the Israeli army released a video on Saturday purported to show an alleged Hamas tunnel near a school in northern Gaza. Commandos were seen carrying out missions to neutralize infrastructure in what was said to be the area surrounding Jabalia in northern Gaza. The first 8 trucks since the collapse of the Gaza truce entered through the Egyptian side of the Rafah crossing. Video footage released by the Palestinian Red Crescent Society appeared to show a line of trucks driven in from the Egyptian side of the Rafah border. 2 fuel trucks and 58 trucks went through the Egyptian side, heading to Auja for inspection. The trucks were said to contain food, water, relief assistance, medicines and medical supplies. Former U.S. President Donald Trump took aim at President Joe Biden as well as his Republican rivals at a campaign rally in Iowa Saturday. Trump said he got indicted because he was questioning a crooked election. Trump has repeatedly sought to delay the cases against him until after the 5th of November 2024 elections.
I got indicted 4 times because I'm questioning a crooked election. But we're not questioning it. We know the results. We know it. And when we go through courts, if we ever even have to do it, because you have presidential privilege and also if we ever, we should never have to do that. But if we do, we want to redo the election only from the standpoint, we want that election, we want to look at it very carefully. We have so much information. There was so much corruption in that election.
Hundreds of Peruvians joined an anti-corruption march in Lima nearly a year after clashes triggered by the ousting of former President Pedro Castillo. Protesters called on politicians, Attorney General Patricia Benavides and President Dina Boluarte to go, accusing them of rampant corruption, and demanded justice for those killed and hundreds of others injured during the clashes. This week, Attorney General Patricia Benavides removed the chief of an anti-corruption special team, which had launched an inquiry against her for alleged abuse of power. Benavides was probed for allegedly leading a criminal network to use criminal pursuit for her own benefit. The onset of winter in southern Germany has paralyzed long-distance air and rail traffic in Munich and has Bavaria firmly in its grip. Munich's main rail station was packed with stranded commuters after trains got cancelled. Hundreds of flights in and out of the German city of Munich were also cancelled after heavy snowfall, which left passengers stranded. Saturday's Bundesliga clash between Bayern Munich and Union Berlin was also postponed due to the heavy snowfall. According to the German Weather Service, 30 to 40 centimeters of fresh snow was expected in Bavaria in just over 24 hours. The snow was accompanied by icy conditions with numerous road accidents. In southern Philippines, 3 people were killed and several wounded when an explosion ripped through a Catholic mass in a university gym. The blast took place in Marawi, a city besieged by militants for 5 months in 2017. The Philippine military said they'd killed 11 militants in a military operation the day before in Maguindanao, Dulsur province. Lanao Dulsur Governor Mamintal Adiong Jr. took stock of the investigation at the blast site at Mindanao State University and later visited the wounded in the hospital. The university said it has suspended classes until further notice. North Korea's Reconnaissance Satellite Operation Office began its mission as a military intelligence organization. The office, organized at the Pyongyang General Control Center of the National Aerospace Technology Administration, started to discharge its mission on Saturday and will report acquired information to the Reconnaissance Bureau at the Army and other major units. North Korea says it successfully launched its first military spy satellite on the 21st of last month, transmitting photos of the White House, the Pentagon, U.S. military bases and target regions in South Korea. Former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson is expected to issue an unreserved apology at the COVID public inquiry next week, but will insist that his decisions saved lives during the pandemic, according to media reports. In evidence that stretches to more than 200 pages, the former Prime Minister will make a series of key points about his handling of the coronavirus crisis. But the former PM will argue robustly that his government got many of the big calls right, people close to him say. His evidence will follow weeks of heavy criticism that he was subjected to at the inquiry. Russia's military eased attacks on the beleaguered eastern Ukrainian town of Avdiivka on Saturday, and unofficial reports from the region suggested they had failed to capture the devastated town of Mirinka to the southwest. Since mid-October, Russia has set its sight on seizing Avdiivka and its vast coking plant. Ukrainian military spokesperson Alexander Stupin told national television that Russian attacks on Avdiivka have halved over the past 24 hours, largely as a result of heavy losses. Ukrainian forces have focused on recapturing occupied villages in the east and south in a counter-offensive launched in June, though President Volodymyr Zelensky has acknowledged that advances have been slower than Kyiv expected. In central Paris, one person died and another was injured after an assailant attacked passers-by near the Eiffel Tower. The suspect was on the French Security Services watch list and was also known for having psychiatric disorders, the French Interior Minister Gerald Darmanin confirmed. The suspect was then chased by the police and attacked two other people with a hammer before being arrested. The police quickly arrested the 26-year-old man, a French national, using a taser stun gun. The French police said the man who died was of German nationality. The United Nations Security Council has voted to end its political mission of a few hundred people dedicated to ending the civil war in Sudan. 14 of the Council's 15 members adopted the resolution to terminate the mandate of the UN Integrated Transition Assistance Mission in Sudan. As of Sunday, Russia abstained. DD India's Isaac Lucando has got more for you.
The shutdown of the UN mission follows a request from Sudan's acting foreign minister a month ago. UNITAMS is accused of favoring one of two feuding political groups in the country, prompting the request. Established in 2020, its role was to support Sudan's democratic transition following the ouster of the country's former president, Omar al-Bashir. The vote to withdraw the mission comes on the back of an ongoing civil war. UN figures show that over 5,000 lives have already been lost, with over 5 million people displaced. Pending the departure of the mission staff, UN Security Council members have stressed that Sudanese authorities take responsibility for their safety. And despite the mission's closure, a UN country team will continue to oversee the distribution of humanitarian and development aid. Nearly half of Sudan's population, about 25 million people, still require assistance. Isaac Lucando in Dar es Salaam, reporting for DD India.
According to media reports, at least 402,312 illegal foreigners, including Afghans, have so far been repatriated to their home countries from Pakistan. They're returning to their homeland on a daily basis through the Chaman and Torkham borders. Pakistan's caretaker government has built transit camps in various districts for the temporary accommodation of undocumented foreigners and their safe repatriation from the country. The interim government has set a target of deporting 10,000 immigrants every day. Gunmen attacked a bus near the town of Chilas in northern Pakistan, killing 8 passengers and injuring at least 15 others. A spokesperson for the regional government said militants had opened fire on the bus on Saturday evening and the wounded had been taken to a local hospital. The regional government's interior minister told a news conference in Gilgit that the gunmen fired at the bus from the hills. No group has immediately claimed responsibility for the attack, and the motive for the shooting remains unclear. Guinea-Bissau President Umaro Sissoko Embolo has informed media on Saturday that gunfire and clashes that had erupted in the capital of the West African nation on Friday were an attempted coup. Clashes between 2 army factions broke out in Bissau on Thursday night and continued on Friday after National Guard soldiers freed an opposition minister who was detained in a corruption investigation. Colombian authorities seized more than a ton of cocaine off its coast after the country's navy intercepted a smuggler's boat. According to officials, the smugglers abandoned their vessel on a beach and escaped. A total of 44 packages valued at $36.5 million have been recovered. Hong Kong Disneyland celebrated the start of the Christmas season with a Disney star-studded live concert and a dazzling drone show. Various characters from Disney shows like Mickey and Minnie Mouse, Belle from Beauty and the Beast, and Elsa from Frozen enchanted visitors in front of the Castle of Magical Dreams. The Aurora Borealis, or Northern Lights, was observed in many parts of northern China, including the country's capital, Beijing. The Aurora Borealis, caused by the collision of charged particles directed by the Earth's magnetic field, created stunning dancing waves of light, which were captured to the delight of Chinese netizens. And time now to take a quick break. More updates will be following in just a bit. Stay tuned.
This program is sponsored by IEPFA, Informed Investor, Empowered Investor, Smart Investor.
सुनो, ये याद है जो 10 साल पहले हमने कुछ स्टॉक्स में इन्वेस्ट किया था?
क्या है ये?
अरे कई साल पहले कुछ शेयर लिए थे, मगर अब तो कंपनी भी भूल गई होगी। पैसे तो डूबे ही समझो।
बस तुम्हारी लापरवाही ने डुबा दिए ना सारे पैसे।
अरे नहीं दादी, अब आप IEPF अथॉरिटी यानी कि इन्वेस्टर्स एजुकेशन एंड प्रोटेक्शन फंड अथॉरिटी से ये इजीली क्लेम कर सकते हैं।
अरे वाह, वो कैसे?
लगातार 7 साल तक डिविडेंड्स और उनसे जुड़े शेयर्स, डिबेंचर्स और डिपॉजिट्स वगैरह क्लेम ना करने पे वो IEPF अथॉरिटी के अकाउंट में ट्रांसफर हो जाते हैं, जिसे आप IEPF फॉर्म 5 फिल करके आसानी से क्लेम कर सकते हैं।
IEPF अथॉरिटी कॉर्पोरेट कार्य मंत्रालय द्वारा जनहित में जारी।
This program is sponsored by IEPFA, Informed Investor, Empowered Investor, Smart Investor.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Let's get you some more updates now. The President of India, Draupadi Murmu, attended the annual National Awards for the Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities 2023 at Vigyan Bhavan in the national capital, New Delhi, today. Marking the International Day of Persons with Disabilities, the President conferred the prestigious National Awards to outstanding persons with disabilities, as well as individuals or organizations for their remarkable contributions towards the upliftment of persons with disabilities. The event was organized by the Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities under the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment of the Government of India. The Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra was organized in Odisha's district of Kalahandi. People welcomed the awareness vehicle and watched short films. Beneficiaries of the government schemes participated in the Meri Jubani Meri Kahani program and expressed their experience. Several parts of India's capital, New Delhi, shrouded in haze as pollution levels have gone up. Roads and buildings were shrouded in smog. The air quality index recorded the mark of 223, putting it in the very unhealthy category. Indian capitals, air pollution gets worse in winter when wind speeds drop and the cooling air traps pollutants spewed by vehicles, industry and farms, burning of agricultural waste in surrounding states to prepare for new planting. Let's now get you some more reactions that are poured in from the BJP's top brass with regard to their happiness as far as the latest trends and results related to the counting of votes for the assembly elections in 4 states that is still underway.
मोदी जी ने इन 10 सालों में जो परिक्रमा की पॉलिटिक्स को उसको पछाड़ करके परिश्रम को परिणाम में परिवर्तित करने वाले माहौल को खड़ा किया है और इसमें जनता उन्हीं के साथ है जिन्हों की परिक्रमा की पॉलिटिक्स से दूर परिश्रम और परिणाम को प्राथमिकता देते रहे। लेट्स वेट एंड वॉच। लेकिन हम इतना कह सकते हैं कि चाहे वो मध्य प्रदेश हो, चाहे राजस्थान हो, छत्तीसगढ़ हो, तेलंगाना हो, जो भी भारतीय जनता पार्टी का शानदार प्रदर्शन रहा है उसका एक ही कारण है कि नरेंद्र मोदी जी का एक मजबूत नेतृत्व और भारतीय जनता पार्टी का लोगों के प्रति, लोगों के विकास के प्रति, लोगों में के सशक्तिकरण के प्रति सशक्त संकल्प।
जनता का आशीर्वाद भारतीय जनता पार्टी के साथ है, ये स्पष्ट हो गया है और भारतीय राजनीति में हिमालय की चोटी अगर कोई है तो वो श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी हैं और ये कहना गलत नहीं होगा, एक तरफ हिमालय की चोटी और दूसरी तरफ कांग्रेस की नीयत है खोटी, इसीलिए उन्हें नकारा जा रहा है। एक बड़ा संदेश और जा रहा है, वो बड़ा संदेश ये है कि श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी जोड़ने की राजनीति करते हैं। अभी उन्होंने एक बात कही थी कि देश में सबसे बड़ी जाति जिसका सशक्तिकरण करना है वो है महिला, युवा, किसान और गरीब, और दूसरी तरफ नकारात्मक कांग्रेस जो देश को बांटने का काम करती है उनके लिए भी एक करारा जवाब है। और इतना ही कहूँगा, कहाँ पड़े हो चक्कर में, कोई नहीं है टक्कर में।
चुनाव परिणाम अब क्रमशः उस दिशा की तरफ बढ़ रहे हैं जहां स्थिति अंतिम निर्णयात्मक तस्वीर को दिखाती जा रही है और तस्वीर ये उभर के सामने आ रही है कि मध्य प्रदेश, राजस्थान और छत्तीसगढ़ में भारतीय जनता पार्टी मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में शानदार विजय की तरफ आगे बढ़ रही है। मध्य प्रदेश में हो सकता है कि हम कीर्तिमान या प्रचंड बहुमत बनाने की स्थिति में आ जाएं, तो मैं कह सकता हूं नाउ दिस शोज दैट द पॉलिटिक्स ऑफ द कंट्री इज बिकमिंग मोडिफाइड, MODIFIED। मेरा मानना है अब ये स्पष्ट हो गया है कि इस देश में गारंटी एक ही है, मोदी की गारंटी, और बाकी सब ढपोर शंख है।
India has been taking major steps to increase women's participation in every sector, including politics, both in terms of choosing leaders as well as getting elected to the seats of power. As the nation awaits the results of the recent polls, here's a report on the role of women in Indian politics.
Women's representation in politics is high in the minds of people as India awaits the verdict on the elections conducted recently in 5 states of the world's largest democracy. As the people of Mizoram, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan and Telangana are set to choose their leaders and chief ministers for their states, all eyes are eagerly waiting for the figures that would project the actual representation of women in the corridors of administration and power. The figure assumes significance in the backdrop of a milestone achievement by India this year. The Parliament of India recently passed a historic bill, better known as the Women's Reservation Bill 2023. The law enacted by the adoption of the bill would now ensure 30% reservation for women in the Indian political quarters. Though the provision of the recently enacted law were not enforced in the current elections, but its enactment played a role in the minds of political parties and Indian voters as well. There has been a slow but steady improvement in women's representation since 1998, both in terms of candidates and winners. But the numbers still continue to be low. The Women's Reservation Bill was first introduced in Parliament in September 1996 by the then government, but it lapsed after the government went out of power. 27 years later, the bill was introduced by the Narendra Modi government and was adopted by the Parliament of India on September 20th, 2023. The bill provided for amendments to the Constitution, which provides for 30% reservation of seats for women in Lok Sabha. Even in certain reserved categories, the bill sought to reserve 1/3 of seats for women on rotational basis. The bill introduced amendments which also mandates the reservation of seats for women in all the 28 state legislative assemblies of India. Even in the union territories like Delhi, amendments have been made to allow 30% seats reserved for women. The reservation will be effective after the census or the population count of India is undertaken and completed. Based on the census, delimitation or restructuring of the voting constituencies will be done and the seats would be reserved for the women accordingly. The reservation will be provided for a period of 15 years. It shall continue till such date as determined by the law made by the Parliament. Amit Mukherjee for DD India.
And let's now get you the latest trends in Rajasthan as well. If you look at what is happening right now, according to the data that we've been getting, trends are out in all the seats that polled. 199, the BJP's got 113 right now, the Congress 70 and the others are 16. So it is clearly the BJP that has emerged and will, if these trends sustain, form the government, the next government in Rajasthan with its own majority. There you see the difference as well. It's 40 up. The Congress is 29 down. The others are 11 down. So all the total of 29, 11, 40 all in favor of the BJP there. So a major surge. And if we get you what is happening in Chhattisgarh, because that's where the trends flipped. Earlier it seemed that the Congress is going to form the government once again in Chhattisgarh, but as the day proceeded further, the BJP started closing in and then overtook, and now you can see the gap is of 19 seats and all the leads have come in the 90 seats. The BJP is 53, the Congress 36 and others is just 1. So others practically eliminated. Only one blue seat, I think, of the BSP can be seen on the map of Chhattisgarh right now, the deep blue, which almost looks like it's purple. The blue, the iridescent blue or turquoise is the Congress and the orange is BJP. And the BJP has surged ahead by 19 seats right now according to the current trends. There you can see BJP getting 38, the Congress losing 32, others also losing 6. And let's talk about Telangana now, where that's the consolation prize, it seems, for the Congress, because right now the Congress is leading there. The ruling BRS, which used to be TRS, the Chief Minister Chandrasekhar Rao himself now trailing still after several rounds of counting. So that tells its own story. But there you have it, all the leads in, 119 seats. The BJP is up 8, so doing pretty well there for itself, but nowhere near any sort of a situation where it can claim that it has won in Telangana. The Congress is the one that has taken a clear surge, sweep in fact, 45 up there. The BRS, that's the ruling party, down 47 to 41. AIMIM is also down 3 to 4 and others are also down by 3 to 1. Well, you're watching DD India News Hour. There's time now to get you sporting updates. Now, former tennis world number 1 Rafa Nadal will return to the Brisbane International warm-up event for the Australian Open in January. The 22-time Grand Slam champion was absent from the course for almost a year with a hip injury. He's not played a competitive match since bowing out in the second round of this year's Australian Open when hampered by a hip flexor problem. Nadal will try to return to the highest level in Australia with the aim of competing at the French Open, which he has won a record 14 times. He's been overtaken in the number of Grand Slam tournaments won by Serbian world number 1 Novak Djokovic, who now has 24 major titles. And that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, formerly Twitter, and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. The election count is not done. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks a lot for watching DD India News Hour.